Welcome back to the channel. I'm Kevin, and I am really excited that the Solo Leveling anime is finally here. I've been making stuff from Solo Leveling since late 2020, back when we were in early season 2 of the webtoon, and no one knew if a Solo Leveling anime adaptation was even possible. This is great for me personally because I love the series, but I have made nearly everything I conceivably can from the webtoon. Now that the anime's here, there's new art and updated designs. Today, I'm going to be making the instance dungeon key we see in episode 3. That came out last Saturday, so I got really excited and did all of this in a week. I'm going to make as much as I practically can from this new anime, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to quite keep up this pace as the episodes continue to come out. If you're interested in following along, then make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. We see the instance dungeon key in the webtoon as well, although it looks a bit different. You can see the webtoon version on the top. The color and more organic details of the webtoon key remind me a bit of Bamboo. The anime version, on the bottom, has a similar design, but it's sharper and looks more metallic. I actually made the webtoon version a few years ago and went for a smoother design. It was my 5th project for this channel, and I'm kind of excited to see what I can do now that I've done a few dozen more. I don't do too many remakes, because I think most of you would rather see me make new stuff, but I do find it satisfying. I edited together a few screenshots from the anime and moved into Blender. I resized everything so I could trace over my reference without putting too much thought into it. I relied heavily on creased edges and the subdivision surface modifier to get this to work. The final product looks impressive, but it's 10% basic knowledge on my side and 90% Blender's modifiers. Instead of carefully sculpting these holes, I just positioned cylinders and used a Boolean difference modifier to cut them out. I managed to do this entire portion of the key in about 20 minutes. The teeth on the key took me longer because I wanted to get fancy. I added a bunch of extra geometry to get just the right amount of curve on the corners. Overall, the entire modeling process took about an hour, maybe a little more with mistakes. I tried printing this as one piece and had poor results. I'm using my new Bamboo P1P and I'm still learning its limits. The teeth on the bottom snapped off along with the supports, which was an obvious deal breaker, but I also had this weird slicer issue where it lost some of the ridges along the shaft. I decided to split the model down the middle and print both sides facing up. I also turned the layer height down to 0.1 millimeters. This turned out great, but the slicer was still missing these ridges, or so I thought. I checked the model, and yeah, I scaled the ridges in only one dimension. That was my bad and a really quick fix. Third time was the charm. I applied some superglue and pressed the two sides together. This is a nightmare if you have an inaccurate printer or your prints are warped, but if things line up nicely, then this is a great trick. I did a couple minutes of sanding and added some wood filler before applying some spray-on sandable primer. The print quality was pretty great, so this finishing step went really quickly. I really should use an airbrush for painting my prints. I've had one for a couple of years, but instead of setting it up again, I spent my time watching anime. I mixed some metallic green paint with some matte colors to get the right shade. I generally do 3 to 4 coats, so my first couple of coats let me experiment with different mixes so I have the color generally correct by the last coat. In this case, I was lucky, and my first mix was pretty good. I finished this off by spraying it with some clear matte sealer. Normally, this is the easiest step, unless you happen to drop the print, in which case you're frantically wiping off wet clear coat and debris before it dries. You can still see a little bit of it here. It's not the end of the world, but it will continue to bug me. Otherwise, this came out pretty nicely. I was surprised that you can still see the join between the two pieces. I don't recall it being noticeable until after I applied the spray-on primer, so it's something I'm going to watch out for on future projects. I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. There's a couple of minor things I'd change, but it's a definite improvement from what I made a few years ago. If you want to make your own, I'll post all the files on Thingiverse. There'll be a link in the video description down below. In the next 24 hours, I'll be watching episode 4, so we'll see if there's anything new to make there. In the meantime, I'll put my Solo Leveling playlist someplace on screen if you want something else to watch. Until next time.